When you hit that wall of utter frustration while photographing in the street, when you are beyond tired and just want to give up, keep on walking.
We took a walk for a few minutes together. The street became his photographs.
Hey, welcome to the Street Shots Photography Podcast. This is Antonio.
And this is Ward.
And this is episode 193 for the middle of October 2023. And we are already getting Christmas decorations at Home Depot. We had those in July. I know.
No. We're just getting over back to school here.
You get back to school when? When does it start?
In August.
Oh, in August. Okay.
But still, it's October, and
I know. I think they should just leave the damn Christmas things out all the time, and then we would just get used to it, and it wouldn't be a problem, right? Just leave it out.
Yeah.
I'm sick of it. Sorry. And I don't. No, I do mind, but I don't have to go to Lowe's. Anyway, off topic. What was I going to say? How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm starting a new job next week.
Hey,
new
congratulations.
Day job. So that's a thing. I'll tell you all about it or not, depending on how it goes. I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah.
It's more in line with what I want to do with my career at this point, and so I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh, well, that's great.
Yeah.
And you start when?
I start on Monday the 16th.
Hey, all right. So that's a day after we publish. So that's good. Or maybe actually I'll publish on that day. Actually.
Okay.
Well, yeah. We've got 31 days in October. Usually I do the 15th or 16th.
I'll have something to listen to on the commute home. There you go.
Right. You want to listen to yourself? I can never listen to myself again. I record the show and I'm done. Let everybody else listen to it, but I'm happy you listen. That's great. Well, congratulations. That's good. I know that you want a more regular schedule, and your other job kept you really busy a lot, and I know that because we had to work around that for recording the show sometimes. But I know just in general,
it's a lot of on call and a lot of evenings and weekends.
Yeah, and getting paged or phoned in the middle of something is real pain. So that's great news, great way to start the fall. So wonderful. Actually, I got contacted by someone I used to work with at Brick, and they are working at an AV company, and he was interested in seeing my resume. And it came a week ago, and what was nice about it was I'm going to put my resume together because I would like to work as well, and I don't know what yet. But it was great that he said to me, and I haven't really had anybody say this to me, is when we were working at Brick together, when you were on a job, referring to me, I knew things were going to get done. And no one's ever said that to me before. And I'm a photographer, but like we were working there on television and stuff. And I'm not I'm savvy with some of the stuff, but the place that I work at is, I wouldn't call it a network at all, like a network television. I'm sure there's a lot more complex things that go on, but I know a lot of the stuff that's there. And this guy came from a network, also I think from Los Angeles or something like that. But when he said that to me, I was like, really? I have the imposter syndrome sometimes. Like I don't know what I'm doing, And he said that, and so I was like, thanks. So I'll send them a resume. I don't know, we'll see what happens, and I'm open to doing many different things. And so
very cool.
But when someone says that to you in general, like you've like in this case,
that's a nice boost.
The job will get done. And today I just spent the whole day building a jib.
Okay.
Yeah. They call me back at Brick because one of the guys who's now in charge of the studio, we just shot a big television production last week, and the jib I had to put it together, make it, I think, 17 feet long. And
wow.
And what's fun about that is it's one of the only times I get to do something with my hands, because, putting up wire cabling, bringing up the tripod, screwing stuff in, balancing, there's a lot of, and I feel really satisfied. And I really don't do that a lot with my regular photography. There's not a lot of hands-on stuff, except that when I was putting up the show, which we'll talk about in a little bit, like when you start doing stuff, I don't know if you noticed this. Well, you do this because you go at a house, but
Yeah.
like doing something with your hands, and then when you're done, and there's like not only that, but there's like a beginning, middle, and end. There's like a start, process, and then you're done, and then you can step away. I was like, wow,
Yeah, I did. My daughter was visiting on the weekend, and I did her brakes on her car.
Yeah,
and
well, see, that kind of stuff.
I do that, and changing the tires from summers to winters. So yeah. Mechanics in my ancestry. There's that. I've got that connection there.
Yeah, well, of course. I think I always want to bring it back to like the thing that I want to do. And in terms of photography, there really isn't much. I mean, unless I'm going to do like matting and framing, which I don't really want to do because I really don't have a need for it. And I don't really have space to do matting and framing. There isn't a lot of hands-on stuff. I mean, other than like, I don't know, there's a few things, but it doesn't feel the same as like building something,
Right.
So yeah, today I had to rebuild it. And I did time lapse it with my GoPro. The battery ran out, so I didn't get the whole thing. But anyway, that's
cool.
That's what I was doing. So going back to like segueing back into photography or whatever I was doing, and don't have much to talk about. It's been kind of a harrowing couple of weeks for me. Just in terms of emotions and things going on. I know that we talked about it last show because I had not put it up yet, the show at the coffee shop.
Right.
So I think though by the time that we published, it was up.
It was up.
But but now I can go in. The day that it went up, for those of you who have been paying attention to the news, New York had one of those insane, crazy weather events. Which, by the way, I grew up in New York, and I've never seen this happen except in the past 10 or 15 years. Like we never really had crazy weather events like this, and this was a one-day rain. I think it was left over from a storm or a tropical storm,
right? Which I was kind of teasing in the last show, and I feel bad about it. I feel like oh, and there's another one on the way. Ha ha ha.
But we recorded it. We recorded before it hit, right?
I know, but still, I feel like I put a hex on you guys up there. But
as far as I can tell, when we had a storm, sorry, we're going off on a tangent here, but when we had a storm a while back, a lot of people, about a dozen people died because basement apartments got flooded.
Right. And
I don't think that happened this time. So there was property damage. But anyway, we got something like, in 7 hours, we got many, many inches of rain. And in a certain period of time, the New York City sewer system can only handle so much rain per hour. And I think we were double that. Wow. So, and then the drains got filled in with garbage. And so blocked the drains. So in the place that I was having the show on the corner, the place was in the middle of the block. Mm-hmm. It was like an ocean. And I mean that because there were waves. Someone took a picture of them and they were like, wow. It was like waves, and cars were, it was about up to the bottom part of the windows of cars. So, wow. 3 feet or something like that. And it was insane. And then in Park Slope, it was worse, which is another neighborhood in Brooklyn. They call it Park Slope because it's on the bottom part of a hill. And so all the water from the top ran down, and there was another ocean on, I think, about 4th Avenue, 7th Avenue. Anyway, it was bad. And so I actually called up the guy, or texted the guy at the coffee shop. I said, did you guys get flooded? Because I just put the show was up Thursday night.
Right.
And this was Friday. And not that I was worried about my prints, because if the place got flooded, my prints are high in the air. I really didn't care, but I really cared about his place. Mm-hmm. And he showed a picture of the water like lapping at his front door. So they didn't get damage in the basement or something like that. But anyway, to go back, the show opening was a bit thin in attendance because it was raining. it started raining Thursday night. So I think that kept people from showing up.
Mm-hmm.
But I had at least 15, maybe 18 people show up throughout the night. A lot of them were friends.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a good quality of people who came. And I don't mean that people who weren't going to come of good quality, but at first I was a little, I want to say disappointed, but then I started thinking about it. I have to do this thing in my brain because I'm like, well, what did I really want at the show? Did I want thousands of people to show up? No, I mean,
right.
So the people who came, I realized they came very far. One person drove like a couple of hours to come. And we had really nice talk there. And Sherman, who owns the place, made some really nice little hors d'oeuvres and stuff like that to hand out. And it was a nice experience. I really enjoyed it. And cool. I sold like a handful of my zines.
Nice.
Yeah. And also I just got, let me just say this because it was cool. When I opened up Instagram today, I'm not opening up every day, but I got a text from a listener who lives in our neighborhood named Alan. And he said, I'll just read it to you. He sent this to me Sunday. I just saw it today. He said, "Good morning. I'm a regular listener of your podcast. Hi, Alan."
Hi, Alan.
And he goes, "And recently purchased one of my zines. Sitting now at Blue Star Parlor to view your images. Nice work and congrats on the show."
Nice.
So thank you, Alan, for reaching out to me on Instagram. I'm sorry it took me a day or two to read it because I just don't pick up Instagram. I'm not used to it anymore, so I don't pick it up every day. So yeah, I've gotten some notice. There's I have a pending sale of 3 of my zines. I have to reach out to that person because we have to just sort of figure out the exchange. Mm-hmm. Sherman bought a few copies, so he's got them there, and I've got some tags there. So if people want to buy them and stuff like that, I have to figure out a better system for it. But it looks good. My hanging system worked. What's nice about it is that if they came loose, I go there every morning and I saw some of the prints were just sort of, maybe I didn't press them in. It's easy because the prints are luster prints. So I don't feel too bad about, make sure my hands are clean, but I don't feel too bad about pushing them a little bit because they're a little robust. The only thing I'm noticing that's, I don't know if it's, anyway, the prints are starting to curl a little bit. They're on this foam core, and I guess I expected them to stay flat more. And I'm just wondering if it's because the environment of the place that they're in,
humidity that they're,
the change in temperatures are sort of all over the place, especially in the past week, especially when we had the rain. And so I think that might be doing a number on it. They're not bending too bad. But I do notice them a little bit, and that might be why some of them actually maybe popped off of their Velcro. But they're not like curled totally.
Right. They're not like a fiber print that you put between the books.
Yeah. But they're certainly doing it more than other prints that I've had done in this way. So I just think it's an environmental thing, not anything wrong with it. But they're not that bad. And again, it gives, they've stayed up. That looks good. I think the system is good. I think taking them down will be interesting because I'll have to remove this stuff with care so I don't hurt the bricks, but that's not a problem. And then we're going to schedule an artist talk for November. So in about 5 weeks, and it's going to be like maybe a second opening. And the plan is for me to do a little slideshow and talk and ask and answer questions and stuff like that. And so we'll do a more robust advertising in the neighborhood.
Cool.
So that we can get people coming in. And again, thinking that if it's on a Thursday night in the fall and with enough time, it's not going to be close to Thanksgiving, that, if people are looking to do something, they'll be able to come in. But I want to do an artist talk where I talk. And I also then want to use that as an opportunity to see if I can get people to do a photo walk. So I'll talk about my photo walk in a minute. I was just hear what you have to say about it.
No, it's fantastic. I did see the. Well, no, that's fine. I did see your time lapse. Pretty good. Pretty cool.
Oh, right. I time lapsed the putting of it together with my GoPro. So that was fun. I should put that on the website. Yeah.
Sure. And the pictures look spectacular against those the brick wall.
They do. A brick wall is a nice way to display.
It looks really well. The scale of the images or the scale of the pictures that you put up work well in that space.
Yes, they do.
Both at a table, if you're up close, and also as you're looking down the room. I think it's part of an architectural, whatever you want to call it, architectural language, the way they're positioned in that space. I think it's pretty cool.
I think taking the space in account when you're putting any show together is important. I think we talked about this at the last show about the different types of hangings I could use, whether it was going to use chains and electrical conduit or wiring that he was going to set up, or what I came up with. Either way would fit the space. The chains and the pipes would look good in the bricks. And I like what I've done today with the sort of the spacers, having them float off the brick. Yeah. So the brick becomes part of the show as well. And I think that's kind of important. I mean, it's not just a white wall where it would hang up, which is fine, but
the brick sets off both the color images and the black and white. Like the mortar is a gray and it works against the black and white.
Yeah.
And then the richness of that terracotta color works against the color in those other images. So I think it's very good.
Works well. And I think I picked a good print size too. Like I said, I had one printed 20 by 30, but I'm glad I didn't do all those 20 by 30 because I think I would have crowded the space. Surprisingly, the wall's 35 feet long. I thought I wouldn't have enough space. And the reason why I came up with the smaller prints is they were less expensive, right? So, and guess what? That was perfect, especially the way Mark Reierson helped me put it together with the groupings.
His participation is not to be understated here. His sequencing really, I think, really capped off the presentation.
I think so
I really
too.
do.
I believe so. And that just reminds me that it's important to not live in my own little or one's own little circle. Like I think it's important to have some input from someplace else, because it really is like, I didn't see anything that he was talking about when he's going over the sequencing and he's seeing how this leads to this and this goes to that, and then help me see a connection between this picture and that picture from one group to a next and how it led. I would never have been able to do that without him. So thanks, Mark, if you're listening.
Yeah.
But it's important, I think, to have that kind of help when you're doing something like this. And well, maybe we can segue into talking about our zine, because
sure,
that was something that was a collaboration between the two of us. So do you start talking about it, what our plan was and what we did?
Well, I think because we're both street photographers, and I had my first visit last year, which, by the way, today is the first anniversary of my visit to New York.
Today when we're recording it, yes.
As we're recording it, yeah. Can't believe it's been a year already. So we just, based on your experience with your zines, now you're at your third issue, right?
Yes.
So we asked the guys in the Unusual Collective, it's okay if we create a little breakaway republic that's podcast based, right?
Little banana republic, yeah.
Yeah, little banana
podcast republic. That's actually
I should. It's a republic podcast. We should put that in. Nobody steal that. That's my idea.
No, that's ours.
Okay, so ask the guys in the Unusual Collective, guys and gals, and the Unusual Collective. We could go ahead and create the zine, based on our podcast experience. So, because we're both street photographers, why don't we just start there, and we'll take our street images and mash them together. We decided fairly early on that everything would be in black and white, right?
Right. Yeah.
And we just throw up a whole bunch of pictures in the Miro editing tool and go back and forth and first make our raw selections of what we thought would suffice for the images, and then went through and paired them. And did we have Mark in on that towards the end too? Take a look at things, or was that just for your show?
No, that was just for the show. That was just for the show. For us, it was you and me doing, well, first of all, let's just give a little shout out in some way. I'm not getting any credit for this, but Miro, Miro, was the app that we used, right? On a web browser, and it's like a free flowing, collaboration board. But since you're so far away from me and I'm so far away from you, and we, unlike your experience with Mark, since you're together making your book and you can print out everything and throw it on a table, we needed to figure out the virtual version of that so that we could both work collaboratively together and see something in a similar way. So we used Miro. There's also Apple's, I'm sure there's a bunch of these programs, but since you're not an Apple, we couldn't use this, but there's what is it called? Why am I spacing out on it? Freeform is Apple's version of that, collaboration whiteboard kind of thing. But anyway, we used that. We put the pictures in, and we would get on Zoom so that we could see each other. And because the Miro app lets both people work on it, or multiple people work on it simultaneously, we were able to move pictures around and talk about it. And so that was really fun to sort of disassemble our pictures and see how they work together. Like the shots that you did and the shots I did were never meant to be together. We just shot them on our own. But then to find sort of this overlap in terms of pictures that could work next to each other together, that could flow from page to page together, that was a lot of fun. So anyway, I'm just interrupting your story.
Put it together, and we're revealing the name of it. So
go ahead.
It's called Line of Sight. So
Line of Sight. I'll just notice it's not available yet. We want to make it available for our audience or anybody who wants to help support the show. So we'll let you know when it's ready, probably in the next couple of weeks. Yeah. We just got our proof copy about a couple of weeks ago. I've got it here with me, so we have to do some tweaking on it. It's another Blurb magazine format. It's really good. Yeah. I was telling you off show that we need to do another with more pictures, because I want to say it's addicting, but
the creation of the zine is addicting.
The creation of the zine is addicting. I mean, in many different ways. I mean, first of all, I love collaborating with you. It's fun to sit down and just focus on photography for an hour, whatever amount of time we did. It's fun to, like, on my own time, to like look at your pictures and look at mine and try to do the concentration game and see what's coming together. But also when we get back online and talk to each other, you're saying, you're giving me feedback about the pairing. I'm giving you feedback about your pairing. And that is really, really interesting to do. It's
also too, I really like that it there's sort of an ego, your ego goes away a little bit, because you can, I mean, we feel strongly about the images that we take for one reason or another, but you can, I'm finding that you and I can look fairly objectively in which images work better for a pairing, for instance, or what sequence, or once we turn the page, what should appear on the next page, and that sort of thing. And we come to agreement pretty quickly.
Is that because we're trying to serve the zine? Besides our personalities in some way, but I'm wondering if that also we're working on.
Yeah, and I think that's the way Mark and I felt about the book too. Yeah, it was just like, what's going to work here? Yeah. Whether it's your picture or my picture. I mean, there are spreads that are all yours, and there are spreads that are all mine, and there are spreads where it's one of each.
Right, and you, I've got the cover, but we talked about it. We talked about this, and it's not like I have an ego on like I need to have the cover. I want the cover picture.
But it was the proportions of it, I think, work best of any of the images we had to fill that space where we wanted text.
Yeah, and for this version, this is the first of however many we decide we want to do, because this is, as an exercise, it's great. Collaboration, I think, is a lot of fun. I do a show by myself and that's okay, but working with somebody else, in this case you, or just getting outside of that little hamster wheel circle of my own stuff is great, because then just personally I'm not so self-absorbed. I get to help you a little bit. You get to bounce stuff off of me. I'm not, there's a nice handoff there between the two of us. And that in the making of it, yes, the zine is a great end product from the collaboration, but the act, it's, the journey is almost as interesting and wonderful as the destination.
Right. And also too, it gives you, like, you have an end to your project, and so you put whatever energy you can into that, and then it's a thing on its own, and you don't have to deal with it directly like that anymore, unless we're doing a sequel, which I know you like there to be more images maybe in this scene. I tend to think it's okay.
I think it's fine. Well, go ahead. I'll let you.
But anyway, so we set that aside, put it in the river, and let it float away. And now, okay, we're doing another zine. It'll be different,
right?
And we won't be bound is too strong a word, but we won't have to use the same rules for that zine as we would for a new one. And I think that's interesting, and I think that's another argument for perhaps keeping the number of images down a little bit, so we can provide an experience for the reader, and we're not knocking ourselves out by creating like a Vogue Italia, which is 400 pages.
Right.
I
mean, there's some part of me that would want to do that, and also.
Well, no, I had an idea to do that too.
You too, yeah. I mean, when you describe it, I would love to see one of those big fat volumes.
Yeah.
And that serves a different purpose. And yes, no, the reason why I want more pictures, and this is fine. I think we just need to do some tweaking on some stuff. We need to I need to change the font in the front, the spacing and stuff like that. And we're going to do some rewriting. The picture layout is good. The flow is good. The reason why I want more is because I want more. It's just like it's this part of, which is kind of what we'd want people to get when if they eventually, hopefully, want to purchase this from us when we get it out. Like,
and the proceeds will go to the podcast, right? They're not going to our pockets.
It's part of paying for, because we're doing this out of our, yes, it would be a way to support the show, obviously. And I want more because I want more. I want more of the experience of sitting down with you and looking at our pictures and seeing how we jive or don't jive. I mean, even that, having, where the pictures clash with each other would be kind of fun. And make a different style, a different kind of printing as well, maybe from a different place. The world is our oyster in that sense. So that's, but the reason why I want more is just because, I don't know, I just, I look at it and I'm like, that's it. We had 35 pages, so that's decent. And every page has got a picture on it. So it's good. I just want more. It's kind of fun that way.
The next one, maybe we'll do more on
the next one. Yeah. Well, we're coming into winter. We talked about this before. We're hunkering down, and it's time to go look at, the stuff that we've got as well. And like I said in the last show, I think it was the last show, when going back through my stuff, there's a lot of stuff that I have that I never processed, just like when I was doing it, I would like look at the one shot, process it and upload it to Instagram, and I was done. But the rest of the stuff would go into my archives, and I go back and look at it. For some reason, I was going back through my Lightroom archives for some reason. I can't remember, but just going back and looking through. Oh, I know. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But I was like, oh, I shot that. Oh, that looks good. What if I do this? And two things are coming from it. One is a time distance from the time I photographed it. A lot of stuff is stuff that's really interesting that I haven't looked at in a while, stuff that I did with when I first got the Fuji X100T, because I was going around shooting tons of stuff with that. Like I couldn't stop shooting with it as I burned that camera out because I shot so much.
Yeah, that X100s, man, they're an obsession.
Yeah, well, good. I mean, hopefully they'll come up with another version because you can't get. Well, anyway, So anyway, that I shot tons and tons of stuff with that, and it's good to go through that. But like that would be the kind of stuff I'd want to sort of get out into the world. The other part of this, just as I said this, is having something in the real world. Like it just feels like you were saying before, like it's there's an end to it. Like here's something, we're done, it's finished, but now it's also in the world for people to have or to see or exist someplace, and it sits in a pile of magazines someplace, and someone picks it up, in the future or something like that. So that has a good feel to it. So,
Cool.
yeah. So we'll keep you, the audience, up to date on that. Hopefully, we'll have it available in some sense within the next couple of shows. We got a couple of things coming up, so we'll see, how our timing goes for getting this done. But it's mostly done. It's great. It's really great to get it in the mail.
Yeah,
it's like those days in book school. You had book day with
Scholastic. We were talking about that. Yeah.
And you'd order the books, and then when they'd come in, there were stacks of them, and the teacher would go from this pile to this pile and make your stack, and then give it to you. And it's like it smelled the books. Anyway, it's the same kind of feel to that in some way. So I'm going to be working on one more zine on my own, I think, because I do want to have 4 volumes of my 11218 at least, and I think I might be done with that. I don't know. Okay. In terms of like I've walking around these days with my camera, I'm like, not that I'm not finding things to shoot, but I'm like, I don't know what the next thing is. I think I might have pulled this out. Someone said I should go to another zip code and do the same thing. Maybe, but the issue with that is that I don't live in the other zip codes. Like There's something about living in the place and doing it in the place. I think the lesson I'm getting from these is that there's so much that I can do in such a small area, and they even come up with projects like a zine, volumes of zines, or even a show. I mean, I think that's a lot.
Yeah. Well, 5 years ago, I started a project called Communities, which was I tried to go into every different named community within the city, of which there are 200 in Calgary, and I've got maybe 45 or 50 of them. One image to represent that particular community. Now I've gone off of it since I kind of lost interest, but the images that I did get, they're not bad. Yeah. So I can always go back to it.
Is there something you want to do with those?
I don't know. I want to see what it looks like once I sort of have everything. Right. I did post quite a few of them to Instagram back in the days. Would have started 2017. And I was fascinated by it. I wanted to, because for me, the city, each neighborhood has its own flavor. Now we're talking about suburban neighborhoods. So it's not like, it's not storefronts and brownstones and that sort of thing. It's mostly detached homes, but the way they're arranged is different by era because of the way the city grew. So you would look at a picture, and if you lived in town here for some period of time, you could probably guess what neighborhood it is by the image. And so I try to create an image that's sort of representative of the neighborhood, so you could say, oh yeah, no, I know this is Bowness, I know this is Varsity, I know this is downtown, that sort of thing. So yeah, those sorts of things, and that's a years-long project. I'm fine with fooling around with that every now and then, and just as long as I put them in a collection and don't forget about them. So that's one thing. I'm definitely with you on that. Enough about the zines. There's also something else you had done recently, a photo walk.
Oh, right. So yes, thank you for segueing to that.
Well, it was an abrupt segue.
It was an abrupt segue. We got that. But I wanted to talk about it since it's fresh on my mind. It won't be news in a couple of weeks anyway. I don't think I posted the link in our show notes because I might have mentioned it last time, but I did the annual Scott Kelby Worldwide Photo Walk. So those of you in the know who know Scott Kelby, every year for, I don't know how long, for a while now, has been doing the Worldwide Photo Walk. The idea of it is that this photo walk is scheduled on a single day around the world, and gets people to lead the walks finding people who want to volunteer to lead it. And there's a contest aspect to the photo walk in terms of the people who participate will submit pictures, and the leader of the walk will get to judge them. But the idea of the walk is to find a location in your area if you're going to lead the walk, and people sign up for the walk. It's usually up to 50 people. And that day, at that time, we walk. And there's no other day you can do it on. It has to be all the same day.
You have to show up, yeah.
Yeah, and it's been, obviously, it was postponed during the pandemic, and they might have done it last year. I can't remember, but I didn't participate. Last year was not a good year to participate in things, but it came up this year, and so I threw my name in the hat for being a leader. And since I've been a leader for a bunch of years, it was easy for me to become a leader again. I don't think there's a lot of qualifications to it, but it does help if you have like some teaching skills, because they want, they have certain things that they want the leader to do in terms of like finding an interesting location, finding a place that everybody can gather at the end of the day, like a restaurant or something like that, and hang out and stuff. And so I've done the walk at the Brooklyn Botanic Garden and Red Hook, Brooklyn, and what's the other place? Greenwood Cemetery.
Greenwood, yeah.
Yeah, so those are the three. Yeah, those are the three places I've done it. The reason I did it at the Botanic Garden because I used to live near there. The one time I did it there on the hottest day. They used to have it in August. They since changed it to the fall, or at least in the northern hemisphere it's the fall, and the southern hemisphere is spring. Mm-hmm. Because we had it in August and it was a nightmare. It was the hottest day, especially going to the Botanic Garden. It was so hot. Sorry. It was so hot. Botanic Gardens have different biome kind of places, like the tropical one. And so you go to the tropical one and it was cooler in the tropical biome than it was outside. Right. It was insane. Anyway, Greenwood Cemetery.
The Stinkhorn wasn't going that year, was it? No.
No. And then I did it at Greenwood when I moved to this neighborhood, and we met out in front of the gates, and then we all walked in. And the guard had a cow because he saw all these people in one group. And we walked in. He said, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "We're just doing a photo walk." He's like, "Well, you allowed to do this?" I'm like, "But you're getting paid for it?" I'm like, "No, I'm not getting paid, because if I was getting paid, it would be like a tour, and they would have things to say about that." And I'm like, "No, we're just a group of photographers getting together." But anyway, I've done it in Red Hook a bunch of times. Red Hook is a nice place because it's the waterfront. There's a lot of old stuff there, warehouses from the Civil War and cobblestones, and it's just a funky neighborhood. I did it the week before Superstorm Sandy in 2012. Because we went there the week before, and then the week after, Red Hook was underwater. So it's amazing. I do these things just before these crazy weather things. Anyway, this one on Saturday, so today's Tuesday, so 3 days ago, I had it scheduled. And of course, then we're getting another rainstorm. So I had about 20 people sign up, and that number dwindled. So it was okay. I understood why. But what's interesting was I was watching the weather, and I tried to change it to Sunday because Sunday's weather was supposed to be good. And then I got indication that was not allowed to change the date because of the contest. I guess they look at the metadata and they want everybody to photograph on the same day. So if there is a contest, and there's some nice prizes, I can't remember what they are, for the people who do the walks. And the walk somehow benefits, I think it's an orphanage in Kenya. I don't know how the benefits work, but you can donate to them and stuff like that. So it's a totally free photo walk, and it's fun. I thought I'd do it this year because just in my emotional state, I think it's better if I'm with people, often. And I like the photo walks because then you can be a photo geek for a day. Everybody can be a photo geek. Anyway, so I didn't cancel the walk. I make sure it's on Saturday. 3 people showed up besides me. It was fine. It was a little struggle because it was raining off and on. And we started in Red Hook. We did take a couple of selfies, one in this trolley that's there that you're not supposed to go in, but we went in because there was nobody there and who was going to throw us out. And then our third person showed up a little bit later. But we walked around the area. There's an IKEA there, and they have these giant. It's also because it used to be a shipping docks and stuff like that. So they have the big freight cranes that unload. They're just now, part of the decor in that area. So it was kind of fun. I decided not to go with any Fuji cameras. I decided most I was going to do shooting was with my iPhone. I want to talk about that in a minute. Yeah. I have the new iPhone 15, so I did that, and then I also brought my Polaroid camera, which is also new.
Right. So this is the new IS2 or whatever it's called.
I think it's called the. Hold on a second. I got it right here, and I can. What are my glasses on? I don't see a designation on it. The I2. They have an I1. So I brought that with me. So anyway, I'll talk about that in a minute too. It was nice. I had a nice walk with 3 people. We enjoyed our company. I was having a bit of a distraction day because my cat Opie, who's you might have heard in the background there, who makes a presence in the show, was sick, and so it's very distracting for me to be doing this and then thinking about him. But I was able to go through the walk. I just didn't stay for lunch. Usually there's a lunch afterwards, and there was only 3 of us. I asked the guys, if you don't mind, I need to go to the vet and stuff like that, and they were like fine with it. But I enjoyed it. I just walked around. I had like I said, I decided to use my iPhone because the iPhone 15 camera is I'm blown away by it. It's becoming, I think it's just incredible what they've done with these things. But I also have this little grip for it called the Shift Cam. It's a grip that you attach. It's got a pinchy kind of grip, so you can put any kind of phone in there. It also has a little Qi charger in it. Oh, nice. So there's a battery in it, so it can feed power to the phone. It doesn't really charge it. It just keeps it from draining too fast. Yeah.
Does it have a shutter release, like a button on it?
It has a Bluetooth shutter release, yeah. And so you can do that. There's not much else to it. You can rotate the camera vertically or horizontally in the grip itself. So you can shoot vertical. But it just gives me a grip, and it's got a little hand strap on it. So it just stays in my hand. And so I thought, well, what the heck? Let me just, I was already kind of distracted. So I wasn't thinking I was going to do the best the best photography I could with and it was raining or raining on and off. I didn't want to have a camera that the Fuji cameras are water resistant. But it was just like, it felt like it would be a bigger deal.
Right.
It was just easier to do my phone. And I was pretty happy with the results. I've been very happy with the iPhone. Anyway, I did shoot a few Polaroids with it. I should show you. I don't know if they'll be in focus. When it stopped raining, I did pull out the I2, and for anybody who's interested in Polaroid as a fun little camera, it's $1.50 per shot or $2 per shot, depending where you can buy your film.
And the I2 is like the highest expression of the SX70 model.
Yeah.
Right?
Can you see this? I'm showing Ward a picture on the screen.
The front of a motor coach.
Yeah. It's a bus. So to just dive into the Polaroid for a second, it's not a cheap camera. It's probably cheap. It might be cheaper to buy a used SX70, but then finding those are interesting. But it's Polaroid's first real, it feels like a real camera. It does feel like an SX70. It's got as I was saying, it's a lens that's as sharp as the SX70. It doesn't have that sonar focusing,
right?
But it does have LIDAR. So it's using LIDAR to sense the distance of a subject to get your autofocus, which I thought is really interesting.
Oh, interesting.
So you do have the ability to focus with this. It does have manual controls. The film speed is like 160 or something like that, but you can do shutter priority, aperture priority, or manual. I did notice that when I took some shots using what I thought was the good meter reading, they overexposed, and so I had to underexpose and stuff like that. But once it got the exposure done, it's just like the Polaroids that I remember from growing up. And even you won't see it in the shot. Maybe I'll scan these and I'll put them in the show notes so you can see them. But it even has some background blur on some pictures.
So maximum aperture is what, f5.6, f8?
No, and this is f8, but it's essentially a 2.25 camera.
Yeah, no, I know. But
So,
then there was always,
yeah.
it was the same as the original SX70 was an F8 as well.
Yeah, actually, it's probably bigger than a 2 1/4. Yeah, it's bigger than 2 1/4, right? It's I think 3 by 3. I have to measure it. So the bigger the piece of film, the larger the aperture can be, and you can still get background blur.
Yeah.
I think it's the equivalent of a 24 or 28 millimeter lens. I can't remember. Yeah. It's a 90 on their thing. It's a 98 millimeter lens. So I don't know what that converts to with the size of the print, but I think it's like a 3, maybe 3. Sorry, the f-stop is equivalent to about 3.5, but I can't remember what the lens is. Anyway. So that was fun. If it wasn't raining, I would have. My intention was to bring, like, if it wasn't raining altogether, I would have had my iPhone with me, but I wouldn't have just done my iPhone. My plan was to do the whole photo walk using Polaroids. Okay. So I bought a whole bunch of film, but again, the camera is not, as far as I know, it's not water resistant. So I didn't, and it's a little difficult to do it with an umbrella. You hold an umbrella in one hand. But it was thoroughly enjoyable, and it made me think about trying to get some more photo walks together, because and I mentioned this the last time, maybe doing a cameras. I haven't set this up yet, but a coffee and cameras group in my neighborhood.
Good. Cool.
And do something like that based on your cameras and your beers and cameras thing, but do my own version of it.
That'd be cool if you get something like that rolling. There's quite a camaraderie that I really enjoy with these groups. So. Be fun.
I kind of miss that, like I said, I think for someone in my position or who's gone through stuff like that, to be with people talking about common things is probably a good thing, a better thing. So that would be my plan to do. So yeah, anyway, photo walk, I'd probably do it next year if I'm available. And if it ever comes up, there wasn't as many participants this year. I think there been previous years where they're like broken like 10,000.
Wow.
And again, everybody's doing it on the same day across the world. So that's the kind of cool thing. You feel like you're sort of
reminds me of those old books, The Day in the Life of.
Oh, right.
Remember those?
Yeah, I remember
that was
those.
All one. Day in the Life of Australia, Day in the Life of United States, Day in the Life
and
of
they were all
the
one
world.
day, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a while back, wasn't it? It was like in the late 80s?
40 years, 30 years, yeah.
Was it? Yeah. How good memory. I totally forgot about those books.
I had one or two of them. I don't know where they went. They got legs.
Well, describe it. For those people who don't know what that is, describe it.
So they'd take all of the working, is it National Geographic? Who was the underwriter for it? Anyway, known photographers, professional photographers all over the world would have this assignment to shoot wherever they are, whatever they're doing. If you're visiting a family somewhere in Australia, you're taking pictures of dad shaving first thing in the morning and the kids playing in the yard and all that kind of stuff. All of the pictures have to be taken on the same day. And pictures are submitted and edited, and then they come out with these beautiful books called Day in the Life of.
Yeah.
And
was the first one the United States? I think it was, right?
I don't remember. I came onto it a bit later, but every now and then there'd be another one in the bookstore or in the magazine rack.
And this is kind of pre-normal internet that we have now.
Oh, absolutely. This was like, came out like any other kind of old OG style magazine.
Yeah. It was I remember it being like a really difficult thing for them to coordinate, like everything on one day, and it's just crazy. But I remember the pictures coming out of it, and they tended to be more documentary style in general, I think. So it was really good. I totally forgot about
But it was sort of an extension, I think, of the Family of Man, if you're thinking of Stilitz's or Steichen's Family of Man.
Just done under one day.
Just done one in one day. And you think all this stuff was going on, and what else is going on in the world or that particular country we don't know about.
Yeah.
It's just sort of evokes some awe in the viewer, I think. Yeah. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, the Kelby photo walk is like that in a similar sense, in the fact that we have to do it all in one day. And when they get the I don't know when we have to judge the pictures or when they have to submit them. I already submitted my picture. The leaders get to submit their pictures.
Right.
So I already submitted my pictures, so I have to go back to the site. But I get to choose between the 3 people who are there,
right?
Who has the best picture. But then they go on to a national, a bigger contest. So right. There's the local winner, and then there'll be I think the whole photo walk winner. There'll be and they'll get some bigger prizes and stuff like that. But when the site is together, you'll have the same kind of effect that everybody's seeing. The pictures that are taken on one day, probably not in this. Well, it's a photo walk, so people are saying locations and stuff like that. It's not like the day in the life of, but to go back to and to sort of, I know we've been talking a while here, but to finish up a little bit, I did get the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and like I said, I was shooting with it.
Well, that's got a crazy pentaprism-y thing in it, right?
This one does, right. It has I've been watching, I don't know why I do this. I've been watching all the YouTube videos and everybody's talking about.
I do it. It's okay.
I do it too. We all do it, right? But I'd already bought it. So yeah. Because I'm always I always want the highest
to help with the buyer's remorse. It's a justification
I don't have any buyer's
after
remorse.
the fact.
But
it's for me.
You could not have buyer's remorse with this specific camera or this phone. I don't even know what to call it anymore. I don't really call it a phone because I barely talk on the phone these days. So it's mostly a camera. Anyway, yes, it's got this tetra prism thing. So they figured out a way to try to get an extended telephoto. Everybody calls it a zoom. It's not a zoom. It doesn't zoom. Mm-hmm. It's a telephoto. It's not a 5x zoom. It's a 5x telephoto. 5 times from the main lens.
Right.
Anyway, this way that the light travels through this prism, so it extends the distance so they can have that slightly longer focal length. It's the equivalent of 120 millimeters, which it's kind of I've always liked the 105, 120, 135 kind of thing in general. Yeah. The downside to it is that there's only 3 lenses on this thing. So there's the ultra wide, the normal, and this one. And sometimes this one can be a little too tight. Yeah.
Too long. Yeah.
Too long. And so there should be 4 lenses on this so that you have a 3 times and a 5 times. Because the 3 times was nice, if you're especially doing portraits.
What's the resolution of the sensor then?
Oh, it's insane. There's so many.
Okay, well, so you pick and then you crop.
Well, no. There's 3 sensors, obviously. The main camera has got a 48 megapixel sensor, which they're doing all sorts of stuff. This is not a technical review, and part of me can't even figure this stuff out because I'm taking pictures with it. I'm looking at the resolution, and it goes all over the place. So,
okay.
And remember, I'm a tech guy, but at some point I don't really care anymore. It's just I would care about the pictures. But the main camera can go up to 48 megapixels raw. And by the way, it's a really, really, really good file. I've done some good tests, buildings with detail, blue skies, gradations in black and white. And it is, I'm surprised at how good it is.
These are HEIF or what is the raw?
Well, the raws are raws, so it's a raw file.
Raw's raw, okay.
You can do a 48 megapixel HEIF or 48 megapixel JPEG if you want. They're processed. Those files may not be as workable, but right out of the phone they look great. But what I'm always surprised at is I was like a 48 megapixel raw compared to I just watched the petapixel guys comparing the iPhone just before we were recording that they were comparing the iPhone 15 Pro Max to a Nikon Z8 or Z8 as they would say.
Yes, and those boys.
What's his name? Chris was making the points about this, that, and the other thing, and all due credit, it was a nice review, but I'm a little. It gets a little tiring hearing these comparisons because there really isn't a comparison. I mean, I wouldn't put this up against my GFX when you compare them, but when you look at it at as far as it came, like you've got this 48 megapixel, which can get downsampled to 12 or 24, depending on whatever. Mm-hmm. And this is just the main camera. I'm talking about the ultra wide or the zoom because they have different sensors on it, but just the basic thing. How far this has come it's been a while since the phones came out, but
2007.
It is just amazing. Those cameras back then were just don't even they're not even worth it. I'm surprised. I'm really, really surprised I've taken, like I said, I was doing this in the iPhone 14 Pro, and I was taking raw files with those, and I was like, when you start looking at gradations and you don't see stepping in it,
you don't see the banding.
Especially in black and white, because there's so fewer tones to really deal with. I was, and you could do some Photoshop magic if you needed to print them. I think I want to do is test them on my printer and see how far I can print them. But anyway, the telephoto version has got a different sensor, so they're not as great as the main sensor. So you can see a little bit of noise that kicks in. It depends on the stuff, but as far as it goes, I think it's a powerhouse. A friend of mine sent me a picture that he took. It was from a Samsung or Google Pixel. I don't know which one of them has a 200 megapixel sensor. And I'm like, part of my brain is like, 200 megapixels. Are you flipping kidding me? That is a bunch of BS. Right? But he sent me a file, and I looked at it, and it was a picture of some trees and some grass. And when I did my pixel peeping at it, it looked all wormy. I was like, oh, okay. But, who's going to look at it? I did it to one size, and I was actually kind of surprised at how decent it looked. It was a JPEG. So anyway, that being said, as a piece of gear goes, it is impressive. I'm happy with it. I think they're just getting better. And I would be very happy to do like a photo walk just using this. I mean, or anything. I mean, I can get away with a lot of stuff. And now with, upsampling with Topaz, and now the new version of Lightroom. I don't know if you've heard this, but today there's a new version of Lightroom out with
No, I hadn't heard.
They are now adding, besides some really granular color controls, which look kind of cool, but this is Lightroom Classic, by the way, not Lightroom CC.
Yeah, that's what I have running. So
yeah, the really, really granular color. They changed the HSL. Sorry, I'm getting geeky here, but they changed that to something new. Oh, anyway, cool. But now they've got a portrait mode version. They've got the Lightroom can create a depth map from an image that doesn't have one built in. I actually wonder what it does when it's got one built into it. And you can now adjust the focus on it. And I'm curious to see how good the edges are and stuff like that. But with all this stuff that you can do with a phone picture, you can go and bring it in the Lightroom. Even on your phone, you can do stuff. I mean, even the Lightroom mobile version can do really nice work. I'm not saying that's not going to replace the bigger cameras, but I am not unhappy walking around with my phone. I've been doing more. A bunch of the pictures I put on my new Instagram account are street shots that I'm doing with my iPhone. Right. I'm sort of full circle around, because that's where I started before I got the Fuji. I started.
It's a legitimate tool for street photography. Don't let anyone tell you different.
No, I'm not. And I'm going back to Snapseed and doing my black and white processing.
Snapseed is my favorite photographic editing tool of all time.
Yeah, I forgot how good that is, especially because it's so compact. They really did the interface well. Yeah. And I call it, when I tell my students, it does gentle processing. It's like some other programs, just even Apple's. I think Apple's built-in, I don't know what this is like for Google, but Apple's built-in phone app processing for photos can be a little aggressive and really do nasty things. And so if I want to do gentle processing that I can go back and undo, Snapseed is the bomb, I think.
Yeah, there's two widgets I love in Snapseed. One is ambiance, which is part of the main controls, the tune the photo. And the other one is vignette, but not for the reason you might think. You can use vignette in different contexts and different ways, and it does something magic with the tones when you move the vignette slider back and forth. It's not just vignetting. It's doing it's similar to what Silver Effects does, the Nick Suite, right? The Silver Effects Pro. It does something, makes it silvery and beautiful. So yeah. It
also has, don't forget that you can use it not only to darken the corners, but lighten the center.
Right. Yeah.
It does both of them, rather than, because I find that useful. I find taking some of the corners down, but like I'm always looking at the center. I'm like, I could use a little boost. And so doing those two things at the same time
And also, you're not stuck being in the center. You can move that arc wherever you want in the frame.
Right. Yeah, so you can actually use it as a processing tool. I mean, you can It doesn't have to vignette. You can actually darken certain areas.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I mean, everybody should know about Snapseed, and it doesn't exist on the desktop. There was a desktop version. It might still work. It's a piece of garbage, so don't even bother with it. If you're going to use anything that's like it on the desktop, you might want to just buy the Nik filters because they're the same technology. And I think the Nik stuff is really, I don't know if we talk about it that much, but in general, but Nik I think is one of the better. That goes all the way back to the Nikon. Then they bought it from whoever the Nik filters bought that technology from Nikon, because Nikon used to have that as part of their raw processing. They called it U-point technology or whatever it was. Yeah. And so that got offloaded from Nikon and it became Nik. And then we know the whole story about Nik going from whoever. But then Google took the Nik technology, put it into Snapseed and made a winner here. And I just pray to the gods of photography. Don't ever Google, don't ever get rid of Snapseed.
No, that's fantastic.
I always tell my students, go download it now. When you get off this Zoom call, download it and work with it because it's perfect. So anyway, I think I'm talked out. I should say with the photo walk business, I've been going out for my walks now that I don't walk around downtown so much anymore, or won't again. So I've been going out for my walks, and I've been taking some pictures of the fall colors with the phone, and I just have an iPhone XR or 10R, and it's fine. And the range of color is pretty spectacular here just this week. I think it might be gone by next week, but so I'll throw a couple of those pictures give them for the show notes,
into the show notes.
Yeah, we don't have any full colors here yet. We're in the middle of October and we're still green. We had a lot of rain, so I imagine that what I'm imagining is that the colors should be nice this year, and gradual instead of just, I think it was like a couple of years ago, they just dried up and died.
Oh, that happens.
Yeah.
But here we got green, yellow, orange, gold, whatever, red.
Yeah.
They're pretty good.
Yeah. I haven't done many fall shots yet, but I think I'll go out this year with my phone and do that.
Just
I think it's
for
very appropriate stuff. So, all right, now we're talked out. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah. So, what have we learned today? Well, I don't know.
What have we learned?
Yeah.
Well,
so
I don't know.
we learned that we're going to be coming out with a zine soon, and we'll let everybody know that. Like we said, it will help support the show, and we'll probably be doing another one after this. Yeah. So, like I said, I look forward to the whole process. Cool. That. Anyway, let's well, that's a wrap. I say let's
wrap it up.
Yeah, we'll figure out where you are in the world for those people who don't know.
So for me on Vero and Twitter, I am at WRosinPhoto. On Instagram, I am at Ward Rosin Fine Art. On Facebook, you can find me at Ward Rosin Photo. I have a little website which I still need to go through and maybe post some of my street pictures and some of my older images, which people wouldn't have any idea about. That's at rosin.ca, ROSIN.ca. And our unofficial show sponsor is Ornis Photo. That's Ornis, ORNIS.photo.
Our unofficial sponsor. We're going to have to make them official someday.
One day, maybe.
One day. All right.
So where are we finding you, my friend?
Yeah, the list is growing here. I gotta try to cut it down. So I'll try to do it quick. Vero. I'm not on Twitter anymore. I really stopped that. So, but if you want to find me, I'm on Vero, Twitter, Flickr at AM Rosario. I did start another Instagram account, slowly growing that. So please follow me. I need the followers so that more advertisers can come to me and try to sell me on selling their jewelry and stuff like that. Anyway, it's at AM Rosario Photo. My website is amrosario.com. Facebook, rosario.com/Rosario Photo. Our website is streetshots.photography, and our Facebook is facebook.com/streetshotspodcast. Do me a favor, subscribe to our Substack newsletter. I'm a little behind on doing the newsletters. Like I said, it's been a week, but streetshots.substack.com. And if you want to leave us a voicemail, it's speakpipe.com/streetshots. And until we get our zine out, a good way to support us is to buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Antonio Rosario. Whew, I'm going to have to shorten that. Make it into I can only speak a QR code and then have people, if there was some way to do that.
I'll put a QR code on the show notes and you scan that.
Well, I could do that, but yeah. So anyway, all right, great. Well, that was enjoyable. So
yeah,
all right, let's. We'll see everybody around Halloween. We will not be wearing masks, but
well, the masks we'll be using will be in our photo tools.
They'll be in our photo tool. Yeah, maybe we'll have them on, but we won't see us in our masks. So anyway,
exactly.
All right. So everybody have a good night, and Ward, thanks for joining. And
you bet.
Good night to you.
Good night,
to
my
all.
friend.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.